Let's not waste any time. It's Wednesday afternoon. It's Wednesday, right? The 31st of August. Yep. Here on the Where Eagles Dare podcast, doing a special quick hit edition to discuss everything that has happened since we were here last, just on Sunday, since the last preseason game. With me is Tubby to discuss, basically what the Eagles have been up to, which has been quite a lot the last couple of days. So I didn't see all of this coming, and it's been phenomenal. We kind of thought the Rager thing might happen, but man, let's sum it up. Just hit me with it. What you got?
Well, it all started with the trade. I mean, we know we had our roster cuts, but it all started really with the trade to get CJ Gardner Johnson, safety. Well, he was a nickel corner out there, slot corner out there with the Saints, and we picked him up. We'll show who we swapped him for a little later. I know what it is, but yeah, we got him, picked him up, man. So that was kind of like a big okay, because we were trying to figure out after we cut Harris, what were we going to do at that safety spot? Because, he was a starter for us last year. So we lose the safety. We go, okay, Blankenship is solid, but is he really that solid to, really carry the load back there? And then we pick up CJ Gardner, man. So that was dope. I don't want to get too far ahead of us, man. What you think about that trade, the CJ trade?
Well, it was, we talked about it, was really crazy. We talked about it a little bit on Sunday. We were talking about where do we think after all the cuts take place, where the Eagles will be weakest. And I said that next to Marcus Epps in that safety position, we really don't have much, because I did not really value Anthony Harris as much. I mean, he's been given a chance in that offense and that defense since McLeod left, but we really miss McLeod's leadership, his aggressiveness. So it was like, well, it's time for something new. I'd rather see Marcus Epps back there. So when they cut Harris, it was like, oh, okay. And then they made the move, and we'll bring it up real quick as far as like the actual trade that went down. Make sure I got the right one here. Let's see here. So if we go back to Howie Roseman trading J-Jaw for Uga Amadi from the Seattle Seahawks. So we ended up doing that. We get Ugo as a corner. That didn't last very long. Howie ends up trading Ugo in a 7th rounder to the Titans to get a 6th rounder for 2024. And then he trades that 6th rounder and a 5th rounder, which is more than value for us, to get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And then the Seahawks turn around and release J-Jaw. It's like Howie making moves. When Howie does this sort of thing, it is the thing that I do love most about him. We've seen where Howie, maybe his drafting isn't is a high caliber, but this year was pretty good. But in past years, I mean, let's J-Jaw, for instance, bad pick. Jalen Reagor, bad pick. So he's had some really big misfires. But when he does these kind of moves, when he trades players for draft capital and then turns that draft capital into better players, you can't help but love the guy pulling off this kind of move, because now you look at this is what we talked about on Sunday. You looked at our defensive backfield. It was Bradbury and Slay, and then we've got Epps back there at safety. I'm spacing on who our other safety is right now.
It all depends on who we want to go with, man. We have Marcus Epps back there. We have Blankenship back there. We have Gardner. That's why we brought Gardner in. And before that, we had Kayvon Wallace and Jared Kayvon
Wallace. That's who I was thinking of. And I was like, I thought they were going to cut Kayvon Wallace as well. And so that would look really bad in the safety position. But now you've got Gardner Johnson coming in with Epps. That's a solid foursome if they stay healthy. Some decent depth. And oh, by the way, if you didn't hear, the Eagles have re-signed Anthony Harris to the practice squad.
Man, I didn't even catch that. News has been moving fast.
It just happened. I just saw it on Facebook a few minutes ago. So yeah, so they get Anthony Harris back after all of that for much needed depth. Now, Gardner Johnson, like you said, is a slot corner, so we don't know where he fits in if he's going to play at safety. But we saw the news where Howie said, "Look, we traded for him to be a safety." And we
Right.
know we can play slot corner, but they've traded for him to be a safety. It's probably that time of his career to make it a little bit longer where he can do that. Yeah, so it's a big
Yeah.
move.
They have him
So
listed on the roster as a safety. So yeah, it's already they're definitely ready to go with that.
and to me, I think he's a high character guy. I've seen the videos of him kicking the Atlanta Falcons logo on the wall. He's high spirited. He's one of those guys that's a motivator without being a distraction. I hope I didn't jinx it, but he's that kind of guy that he's high
Yeah.
energy that can only help. And this is the type of team that Howie, not we,
Mhm.
that Howie's put together this year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. He's got guys like Hassan Reddick, Kazir White, that are high energy guys that
Yeah.
are out there to make a difference. So I'm really stoked about that. But what about the other big move that took place today? Finally, what are your thoughts on
It was
our number one pick from a couple of years ago making his way out?
yeah, man. Our 21st overall pick in the 2020 draft, aka the Rona draft. Jalen
Yeah.
Reagor, man.
Oh,
You know, I mean, just the irony behind everything. We knew it was coming. We knew he was probably either going to get released or we were going to put in a nice trade for him. We knew one of those things could happen, but we knew, like, man, we don't want to just release him and somebody just scoop him up. We know he has some value to him. That's why they kind of hung on to him a little bit, hoping that somebody would bite once, teams start cutting their roster down, start making those decisions. And it was just a really good time to move on from him, man. That way, even this next week off, going into this next week of practice, going in, you don't get to see those guys around that you've been looking at all camp. You have your team now. Everything is solid. You have your team ready to go. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man. We needed it to happen. We needed our team to move on. He just didn't really produce last year at special teams, particularly like if you're not going to excel at the wide receiver position, at least do something else. And he wasn't even returning punts well. They may have kept him on the squad if he was at least using his speed for the punt return game, but he wasn't. So, yeah, man, long time coming. I mean, Eagles fans, consider what we all went through last year of just unbelievable numbers that he was not putting up. Everything was just, 2 catches, 19 yards, lucky if he catch 1 or 2 balls a game, man. So and then I guess we'll get to the irony in a little bit, man. What do you think about the trade?
well, he did have a decent preseason, which it was double-edged sword for us, is because that we were like, okay, well, maybe he'll turn out to be something. Maybe we'll get something. But the problem is we've got AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins. There's not and Pascal. There's not a lot of places for Reagor. He's not going to crack that top 4, no matter how good he did in preseason, because of what he's done in the past. So it was a matter of we got to get this done. They've been rumored that Howie was going to get a deal done, and so I'm glad that he did, because what he ended up getting, in return, if we want to look at it real quick, let's pull this up. It is they got a 7th round pick in 2023 and a 4th round pick. 4th round picks are big in 2024. It could drop to a 5th round pick if Reagor's production is high, which I think we're safe with the 4th round pick.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think we're safe with the 4th round pick, man. But just the fact that he's even over there right now is crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and where did he end up? In Minnesota, the team that made fun of us on the Rona. That's why I was giggling when you said the Rona draft. They were making fun of the Eagles, or just just laughing unbelievably that they took Reagor instead of Justin Jefferson. So now they got both. They got Reagor
Yeah.
and Justin Jefferson. But let's be honest. The thing about Reagor is he's not really been the type of guy to prove on the field that he was the guy. He's never broken free of defenders. He's never been a big yard after catch guy. Why we got him there? We wanted this Tyreek Hill type athlete, and he just didn't get open. He wasn't making the catches when he was downfield. He wasn't extending plays. There was just nothing that he's done. So good luck, Minnesota, trying to get something out of Jalen Reagor. But we're kind of glad that you gave us a 7th rounder and a 4th rounder for him. And just to comparison on this slide here, if you look at this is from Brantley Gouton from Bleeding Green Nation. It was the Cowboys actually only got a 2022 5th round pick for Amari Cooper, and they swapped 6th round picks. We ended up with a 7th and a 4th and didn't swap anything. That's Howie being Howie, man. It's unbelievable. So gotta love stuff like that.
Can you imagine this upcoming season? Jalen Reagor's out there just going off right next to Justin Jefferson, and we're sitting there like, now we're like, Minnesota's the genius. How did they get both of those back-to-back 1st round picks in the long run? You know what I'm saying? It's like, also hope it doesn't backfire. Luckily, Kirk Cousins is their quarterback. So, Kirk's going to throw for 3,000 yards, but everything in between is going to be choppy. They're probably still going to go 10-7.
Yeah, probably. Kurt throws for 4,000. Just he doesn't get it done to get them in the playoffs. Yeah, he throws. He's a high volume passer. It's just the fact
he's
that
always had
exactly
receivers.
Yeah,
you're throwing to Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, even Rudolph. Randolph, was it Randolph or Rudolph?
Kyle Rudolph. Yeah,
Kyle Rudolph. You had Kyle Rudolph was there for a while. A Pro Bowl blocking and pass catching tight end. So, he had a monster defense to get him the ball back. There's no telling what some of those Minnesota Vikings games would have turned out if they didn't have Xavier Woods and, all these guys, Barr back there, the other Kendricks back there, just Emerson Griffin on the line, just monsters out there on that squad, man. So, man, I still wish him luck. Like I said, if you wore the Eagles helmet, good luck to you. Hopefully you have a good year and you get your money, man. Hey, you still a professional. Go feed your family. Hey, it's all love here. You just can't be on the Philadelphia Eagles no more, sir. So good luck to you. We move.
Well, that's the thing is I don't worry about Reagor. I just don't, from what he showed us. If he does go out there and do it, yeah, it looks foolish, but I just don't see it. I do think the Vikings are going to have a good team this year. Think that there's going to be a hard place for them. They're taking a good flyer. I mean, it's a good chance for them. It works out for both teams. If it works out for them and they can put him in the slot or do something creative, the only thing it does is if he does go off, it makes our coaching staff look really bad that we couldn't find something for this guy, and Minnesota does. I just don't think this guy was really rated properly coming out of TCU. I think that he made some really flashy plays. He was in an office and in a conference that allowed him to do a lot of things that he can't do at the next level. So it is kind of, good, sad to see him go from a standpoint of, like you said, it was an Eagle, but good from the product. He's no longer a distraction. I think that's a big key, getting him out of that wide receiver core. So these 4 guys, you don't want somebody with sour grapes out there that's moping around because he can't get on the field. Give him an opportunity and let's go. We've got our wide receivers, and we'll probably get Ward back. I think I've got a slide with the practice squad with all the people coming back. We'll look at here in a minute. But I did want to show this one real quick. There's just a illustration of what Howie Roseman is like. He's a shark among the chum, man. He does this stuff in the offseason that it just blows my mind when he pulls off moves like this. Just getting the AJ Brown thing done and everything. And his draft was really good this year, but it's like what he does is take advantage of teams like with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in cap casualty eras, free agents that are looking to make new deals, and people hitting the waiver wire. He makes the right moves. We don't sit there and go after, somebody like Aaron Donald or somebody that's going to break our bank, and then we have to end up paying them for the last. Now, it worked out for the Rams, but they got it almost didn't there for a while until they got rid of Jared Goff. They were like heavily invested in all these big name free agents, and they were just not getting the deal done. Howie doesn't do that. He doesn't put all of his eggs in one basket. He gets us the right players. What I like about this team right now, especially the defense, what I'm seeing, and the offense, is we're young, extremely young, and talented in across the board. And that's going to make a big difference in this season of 17 games where you've got to outlast everybody else. We don't need big name veterans to come in with just the name, designer veterans. We need guys that can play and play hard. And I think that's what we've amassed in this offseason. So congrats to Howie. Now, talking about the cuts, were there anybody on the cut list that you saw that disappointed you, that you wanted the Eagles to keep?
Huntley. Huntley was probably the one I was like, man, because they worked him to death in the preseason. They worked Huntley bad in the preseason. He played damn near. I wonder if you look at the snaps, he probably played majority of the snaps at running back. Yeah. He had that good 67-yard send off. I know it's against the bench players and the guy that are probably going to get cut, but so what? You know, I thought, he at least could have been in the return game. You have somebody that's back there returning a 67-yard kickoff. That means I'm sorry, a run. That means they have breakaway speed for a kickoff as well, too. That straight line speed. You can bust one for 67, 70. A lot of guys get caught after a little while. So he has that breakaway speed. I'm not saying he's super fast, but it's a solid back, man. And as fragile as our backs have been, and we didn't pick up any new backs, I didn't see why we couldn't carry him over. I didn't really see why. But so hold on. I do have to go back for a second because something weird happened. That was about as nice as I've ever heard you speak of Howie Roseman. It's almost like you were saying Howie Roseman is the GOAT right now of GMs. Are you saying Howie Roseman is up there with the big dogs as GMs?
Well, any GM that does win a Super Bowl, you got to give some credit. And so I've always been thankful for that. The problem with Howie for me has always been his draft, is always reaching for the Marcus Smiths and guys like that we take way too early. Some of the moves that he made, like in the Dream Team era, bringing him Nnamdi Asomugha, that was a good, trying to make a big splash. I think he's gotten better as he's gotten older. Last year, my big problem was our draft. And the whole fact that, sitting there saddled with J-Jaw and Jalen Reagor it's frustrating. But the one thing that I've always said that he does do well is these off-season moves. Being able to get something for nothing is one of the things that he excels at. And I got to give him credit. I have to. And if it leads to a playoff and even a second round appearance, who knows where this team could go.
Right.
Then you really got to, if they do anything in the next couple of years and become some sort of long running playoff team where they win some division titles, you got to give them credit. You really do. I hope that the draft continues to be well. I thought we had a great draft this year, and I'm hoping we keep doing that. They did something that surprised me by sticking with Hurts. I know there's a lot of people in the fan base aren't happy about that. I am. I want to see what Hurts can do, and I don't want to see us trying to draft another quarterback every single year, especially in a draft where there was no quarterbacks to be had that were, Kenny Pickett. Come on, give me something that we've got. So give Hurts all the tools, and that's what he's done this year. Give Hurts the tools, not just on offense, but on defense, to where the team can excel as a whole. So yeah, if you want, I'm going to call him the GOAT of the 2022 offseason. I will tell you that right now. Name me another GM that has made the moves that he's done this off season. I'll wait. I don't know anybody out there. So I will say that.
We have to. I mean, hey, I guess it's all. We'll have to put a pin in this, and then we'll see week 18 where we're at. You know what I mean with this whole deal, man. But nevertheless, man, we did have a solid off season, man. Especially picking up Kazir White and Hassan Reddick. I mean, we can name the whole list down. As far as guys that got cut. On your end, man, the practice squad guys, who were you looking at? Who stood out to you?
Well, the ones that were like we talked about on Sunday, I was two that I mentioned was Josh Joby and Devin Allen. So when I saw them come up on the cut list, I was like, I really wanted to see Devin Allen get a shot at the return game with that speed. I hear that he wasn't so great in practice, and so that was kind of the reason why they cut him, is that he just wasn't what they were looking for. And so in games, he was playing really well against the backups, and he had that big play against Cleveland. I just wanted to see him get a shot. And Huntley was another one I wanted to see keep. And then Josh Joby, I really liked the defensive back, and they cut him. And I just wanted to see him for depth. And then they turned around and cut, Anthony Harris. So I was kind of like, well, wow, that's they're just taking out everybody. They kept a lot of linebackers, which
Yes,
which
sir.
just surprised me. And we talked about this last year. It didn't seem like this team valued linebackers, but we kept a host of linebackers. They just waived Davion Taylor today, or I think it was a third or fourth rounder in 2020. So I saw that, and so that's a loss. We lost Davion Taylor, but the thing
So that puts us at 7. With Taylor, they still have him on the roster right now, out of Colorado. But so that puts us to 7. So yeah, we were carrying 8 linebackers, and now with Davion Taylor getting cut, I didn't even know that. Like I said, man, things are happening so fast. It's crazy.
And I think the reason they kept the so many is that rotation. They get that front 7 rotation. We got Jordan Davis in there, but then you've got Hargrave and Cox going to be starting. So there's going to be a heavy rotation on the tackles, on the ends, and in the linebacker. This is the kind of thing that Gannon wants to do, is rotates his 1 and 2s. And I think it's just going to lead to a lot of disruption, in the backfields of opposing offenses. They're not going to know what's coming. Try to triple team Jordan Davis, and then you've got Brandon Graham, Derek Barnett coming from the outside. You got Kazir White that's going to be clogging up the ends, and you got friggin', Hassan Reddick at the Sam. It's just a really masterful thing. So those are the ones I wanted to see kept. But then we saw today, the practice squad actually came out, and here's who's on it was Devin Allen right there at the top of the list. I was really surprised about that. So they did bring Devin Allen back. So I was happy about that. And then you see right here, they brought back Anthony Harris. So no Josh Joby, but I think they actually did keep Josh Joby, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to look at it. You check on the safety or the corners and see if that's on there. We got it. Mike Bradshaw, saying Eagles Steelers on October 30th. That's in Philly, because I got a buddy of mine that wants me to come out for that game, because I'm going to the Lions game and then the Colts game. Trying to get you to come.
That's in Philly, huh? Man, that should be a hell of a game.
Yep.
Steelers, Eagles.
Everybody that lives out there. Yeah, that's going to be great stuff. So this is a pretty decent practice squad list. You see that we brought Sinet back, but I think they've cut him because did you hear the other move that happened?
Yeah, Ian Brooks. Ian Brooks.
Yeah, from Notre Dame, that was back up on the Saints, and now I think they've waived Sinet, so he's on that list, but he's not really on there. Yeah, so looking at the active roster, Josh Joby they didn't cut him. So I thought they were going to, and they cut Harris instead. So I was kind of happy. And so we got Joby and I thought Joby, as far as all of our backups that were trying to play for a spot, he was the one that stood out to me. He was very disruptive in all the preseason games. He was very active. He covered a lot of ground, which I think in Gannon's offense, they expect you to do, because we've seen how it is. It's that playing in space type stuff that killed a lot of guys last year on the Eagles DBs. So I think having Joby back there as depth he showed out. So he deserves to be in that lineup. So
and you come from. My bad. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say. So overall, there wasn't any real devastating cuts in the end, because we got the only thing that is Huntley. Huntley is not on the list. I was just checking to see if he signed with another team. He hasn't yet, and we didn't bring him back for the practice squad. So it makes me wonder what are they seeing that we don't. I don't know. I like Huntley.
Yeah, man. Like you said, man, we don't know. They're in the practice. They're in the trenches with everybody, so they know better than we do. So we just hope we make the best decisions, man. But running back, I am a little disappointed that we didn't pick up a running back. I even for a second was like, why not get Marlon Mack? But damn, why he get cut from the Texans? Are they just making room for the rookie? Just going to just let him go. But he hasn't had a lot of touches since his injury. And I think he had an Achilles injury in 2019, 2020 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And he just really never been the same since, man. So that's my only concern, man. So now we're here, right? We have the team together. We're going into September 11th at Detroit, first game of the year. What are your concerns with the Birds, good or bad?
Well, the thing is
I'll tell you mine. I'll tell you mine.
Oh, go for it. Go for it. Yep. Yeah.
I'll tell you mine. obviously my number one concern is the cohesion, man. Just the cohesion on the defensive side. That's for starters. I think the offense is going to move the ball, but defensively, that scheme and that Dolphins game kind of scared me a little bit, where it just looked like, man, we just weren't in the right positions again, reminiscent of last year. So that's my number one concern is the defense and how long are they going to let Gannon go this year if that scheme isn't working? Is it 8 games, 9 games? Like, if we're still giving up 75+% to every quarterback that steps on the field against that defense with all those names and all those high caliber guys there, how much time do you give them? And then, of course, we want to see, is Jalen Hurts going to be the future quarterback of the Eagles? This is year, 4? 3? 4.
Well, yeah, his second full year as a starter, but so he came.
So this is his third year now. So this is his third year. So his third year. Mind you, folks, we still got him for cheap right now. He's still on a rookie contract. He has cost us nothing. The second round pick, and we've done worse, aka Rager, who we've just shipped, who was a first round draft pick. We talking about a second round draft pick here that we paying second round draft pick money. Mind you, it's different from picking up a number 1 or number 2 and Carson Wentz, where you feel like you have to then pay him that $100 million contract on the back end. So to justify picking them so high, you know what I'm saying? But none of that stress is really there. So I think Jalen should just ball out, man. Let us see what he has. And I just want Sirianni to keep the playbook on offense consistent with what he wants to do, no matter what quarterback in there. I don't want a Jalen Hurts system. I don't want a Minshew. I just want I want a Sirianni system. I want to see what he does well. That way we know who the problem is. We don't want to turn around after we've gotten rid of a lot of playmakers and go, oh shit, it was Sirianni. You know what I'm saying? So I want to see consistency out of both of them, the quarterback and the play calling. Because remember last year, first half of the season, we didn't run the ball. Then second half of the season, we were run heavy. That's not a good balance. So just having those concerns, those ebbs and flows of our offense where we do one thing to the extreme, heavy RPO, then we go, just heavy regular run. Oh, Hurts has an injury. Now he only runs 5 times a game and his passer rating goes up against Washington. It's like so many things that is just all over the place, like week to week. You never know what you were going to get. It was like a mixed bag coming from the offense, man. So those are just my few concerns. And special teams, because
football is complementary.
Because football is complementary, folks. It's always complementary, and you need special teams as well, too. We got nothing out of that last year. Help our guys not start on the 25-yard line every time out the gate, man. Get us to the 40 a couple times, something, So those are my concerns, man, for the year. We'll start out the season.
And you've heard me voice my concerns on the defensive side. I think with the talent we've got, if they do not show up against Detroit or they don't play extremely well, I'm going to be disappointed in the scheme because I know that we've got the talent. There's you can't tell me Bradbury, Slay, Epps and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Kazir White, Hassan Reddick, Jordan Davis, friggin' Hargreave, Fletcher Cox, Graham, Barnett, you name it, that they can't play. These guys can play. Barnett's got his issues, but we know he can take up space on the right end. So I'm not. I just that if that does happen, you know what I'm going to say. It's not those guys' fault. It's all on the scheme. So you're right to be concerned there. I'm not as concerned about Jalen Hurts. There's something about this year. The only concern I have about Jalen is if he gets injured. I don't want to see that because I think I just got this feeling that this is his maturity coming in. I've heard from what I've read is that the Eagles have installed even a more complex offense. They've been bringing him along, building it around him, and even Gardner Minshew is on board, which blows me away because Gardner had his thing last year where he wanted to be the starter, and now he's changed his tune and is saying, "Look, I'm watching Jalen. He's grasping this new offense. They've added more schemes to it. They built it around his strengths, and he's embracing it." And Gardner's like, I just want to be on a team like this right now, which blows me away that he said something like this. But it shows you the culture that the Eagles are building. My biggest concern is after everything, all the moves is what you said earlier, is that the running back committee right now as it stands. Miles Sanders is out there is running back 1. and he's hurt right now in the offseason. We don't know. He's going to be available for week 1, but if you're banged up in the preseason, you haven't even played much in the preseason, you're getting banged up in practice, you're banged up last year, you got me worried. So that leaves Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell as our 2 other backs, and that they don't instill any fear and any defense out there. They're not going to be worried about those guys lighting up. Now, Boston can get the job done. We know that, but I'm just saying that he's that RB2 guy. So my biggest fear is we don't have a guy like Howard or any type of bruiser back to get the job done on short yardage. I don't know if they're going to rely on. I don't want to see Jalen Hurts doing quarterback sneaks, my opinion. I don't want to see him get a concussion from going up the middle. I'd rather see us have somebody that we can, like Dearness Johnson, that has been rumored to be coming to the Eagles, that can plow through the line and get the job done. Find somebody. Madison has been rumored from Minnesota. I thought when they traded Rager and I saw that come up, they traded him to the Vikings. I thought that was the deal, was that we were going to end up with Madison. When that didn't happen, I was kind of a little bit bummed. So that's the key. I think if we can't run the ball so that Jalen can have some space to get it to our great receiving core, then that's going to be an issue. And we're going to have to get that around that. Now, that being all said, I do think this offensive line could open holes for me at 50 years old to run through and at least get 3 yards. I think I could get 3 yards behind this offensive line. You put me on pads, I could probably get 3 yards. This offensive line is amazing, and we've got depth like none other. So I think that's a hopefulness, but it doesn't help the fact that if Miles goes down again or we don't have him, that we just got Scott and Gainwell. So we'll see. We'll see what happens as it comes up. That's all I have.
That's good points, man.
But overall, I mean, I thought that when you looked at the roster up and down when it was over, I'm not really disappointed at all. I'm excited, actually, really excited.
Yeah, we have a good squad going forward. Definitely, I think so. I think so too, man. I think we got a good squad going forward. We're looking forward to this year. I'm looking forward to every Eagles gear, no matter the roster, man. I just love opening day, game, week 1. Oh man, setting your fantasy rosters and all that good stuff. Just everything that goes with it. Probably going to light up the grill just because it's like an opening ceremony. Throw something on there, hamburger, hot dogs, anything, just to get the smell in the air. It's America, people. We barbecue and watch football.
Yeah. And like I said, now, have we determined, are you going to be able to make game 1 yet, or are you not going to be able to?
Nah, man, I doubt it, man. It's just too much going on.
No worries. I'm going to be in Detroit for that, so I'll be doing probably a little bit of live streaming up there. Probably some TikTok live reports from the game. I might have a few beers. I mean, we'll see what happens, but it is Detroit, so I got to watch my back wearing Eagles gear, and I will be in Eagles gear because I fear no man. But you're right. So I won't have the grill going on that day. I probably will do something on Thursday when they have the opening night. I'm glad that college is back on Saturday, so I'm glad for that. And speaking of Saturday and setting your draft and everything like that, our next broadcast is coming up here on the Where Eagles Dare podcast. If I can get this thing to come up there, is going to be September 3rd, this Saturday at 6:30. We're going to start by just opening it up, talking a little bit about our draft as the countdown hits. Our draft, actually live fantasy draft, starts at 7:00. So you'll see a bunch of fools scrambling round after round to try to get the best team possible. We'll make fun of some people online, and we'll if somebody gets a good player, we'll all curse their names if they get a steal, somebody that we want. It always seems to happen to me. It's usually if I follow you. I am so glad that you're 9th and I'm 3rd, because if I'm right behind you, I can guarantee you're going to take the guy I want right before I get him. And that is frustrating. That is frustrating, dude. It happens all the time. So I'm glad for that. So I think
everybody has that person in the draft that just consistently takes the players that they want. Because I'm not going to give them any glory, but I do have somebody in our league that does it, but I don't want them to know it. But it's been years. It's going to be going in 5 drafts in a row. It's just been like, man, this dude is picking up a lot of the guys, man, just wherever he is on that, on the ladder, however it go, it's just somehow like, you feel like you got a hot idea, like, I'm gonna pick up this person. Nobody's going to, what? you think you have it, and it's normally like 2 or 3 picks before yours too. It doesn't happen like 9 away. You're sitting there Chester cheesing, and boom, they snatch it right up. Now you're kind of scrambling.
I was just about to say.
It's trickle effect.
Yeah. Now you're on the clock, and your guy that you were 100% sure was going to land in your lap, and then you end up taking, just somebody out of left field. They never end up making your roster.
You get a kicker for no reason.
Oh yeah, yes, just because you panic. Yeah, it's 8th round, but I'm going to go and take my kicker now. Tucker, let's go.
Patriots defense, something just random.
Yeah, I know. It's
something safe.
The world of fantasy can be a cruel mistress. It really can. It's a lot of fun, but it is cruel at times. So we'll see how this year goes. So tune in to the Where Eagles Dare podcast live edition stream on YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch. We're going to be doing our fantasy draft at 6:30 p.m. on Saturday night. So have a few drinks, come and say hi, and we hope to have a good time doing that. We're going to just broadcast what we got. Before we go, we got to do a special because it's just a quick hitter, but we got to do a hell to the no, to the no, 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 hell no, to the no, with the season right around the corner. Even though this is not August 23rd right now, we're going to do this date in history as our hell to the nah. On this day, August 23rd, 1305, just wanted to point out that Scottish freedom fighter William Wallace is hanged and then disemboweled, sadly. Since his death, Wallace has only missed one Lions playoff win in the Super Bowl era. Just absolutely.
Memes can be cold, man. Cold-blooded. I need one of those buttons on here. Cold-blooded.
I know exactly right. Being from Detroit, I'm so glad I'm an Eagles fan because I've lived this stuff. Growing up in the that's the reason I'm an Eagles fan. I grew up in Detroit, but the Lions were a laughing stock.
Football is complimentary.
Oh man, my bad. I didn't hit a button on football. Oh, it's still going. All right, let me keep my fingers down.
That's all right. It's all right. I try to keep my hands off the buttons. Never works out the way I want. But yeah, it's a great joke. Poor Lions. And so that's our first round opponent is we've got to deal with them. We are going to do a preview of that game next week after our fantasy draft. So we'll do a full-on preview for that here on the Where Eagles Dare podcast. So we do want to thank everybody for tuning in and joining us on Where Eagles Dare podcast, because without you, there's no reason to do this. It'd just be me and Tubby on the phone, which is what we normally would do anyway. So it's all good. Texting each other back and forth, calling each other during the game. So it's glad that you guys can join us. So if you like what you hear, don't forget to come back each and every week. We are always on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook Live, but we're also on all the podcast providers. We're on Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, Castro, Podcaster, Spotify even. So if you like all those, you can listen to us in your car, listen to us wherever you want. It was a great little story. My wife was doing dishes and she looked over at the Alexa and she's like, "What's the name of your podcast?" Like, my wife's not a regular listener. Go figure. Doesn't like football. And I said, it's like, it's the Where Eagles Dare podcast. She's like, "It's on Alexa right now." I'm like, "Really?" That's because we're the #1 podcast in the world. Even Alexa knows that you want to listen. So don't forget to tune in. Yeah, I was listening to it earlier. It was just still up on the
You
phone,
see your boy Jeff S in the chat.
Oh, yeah. Hey. Greetings from Boone. What's going on, man? Like you came right as we're ending, so unfortunately, but check us out on Saturday night at 6:30. We're going to do our fantasy draft live. It's going to be a lot of fun. Got some drinks will be flowing, some players will be drafted, some tears will be shed, and we'll see how it goes. So, but again, join us in one of those platforms, and we're going to be looking to a great weekend to get ready, and the season's right around the corner. So I'm going to turn it over to Tubby for his parting words of the evening.
Man, as always, appreciate everybody stopping by, whether you're listening live or listening on the podcast, YouTube or Facebook, however you catch us. And as always, fly, Eagles, fly.
And go Birds. So have a good weekend. We'll see you guys again soon.